Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank Senator Whitehouse and Senator Merkley and everybody else for the very hard work they've done on this monumentally important issue. It's hard for me to think of an issue that is more important. Senator Merkley a moment ago used the word pre-censorship, which is an interesting concept, and I want to give you an example of this. Mr. President, I would ask unanimous consent to submit into the record an article that appeared in the American Banker fairly recently.
Without objection.
And let me read you what this article says. There is a member of the banking industry who contrasts what the old rules would have allowed, and that is, under the old rules, there are limits to how much people can contribute into a PAC, and that is $5,000 before the primary, $5,000 after, a total of $10,000. And what this gentleman, Mr. Packard, says from the banking industry, says, if someone says, I'm going to give your opponent $5,000 or $10,000, you might say, yeah, okay. But if you say the bankers are going to put in $100,000 or $500,000 or $1 million into your opponent's campaign, that starts to draw some attention. End of quote. What that gentleman is saying, and what this whole issue is about, is that if a member of Congress is prepared to stand up to Wall Street, you better watch out. If you're going to vote for a bill that protects consumers, you better watch out, because, as this banker just said, there may be $500,000 or $1 million going to your opponent, going into television and radio ads. So when members of the House and the Senate are thinking about how they want to address the recklessness and irresponsibility on Wall Street, if they are thinking, as I am thinking, about the need to break up these huge banks which have so much power and have done so much harm to our country, if you want to bring about reform of the Fed so you don't have representatives of the largest banks in America sitting on regional feds, you know what? You're going to think twice about going forward, because you're going to worry that when you go home on the weekend, there are going to be all kinds of ads, unlimited amounts of ads from the banking industry. Or maybe you're concerned as to why in America we spend almost twice as much per person on health care as any other nation. Maybe you want to move, as I do, to a single-payer health care system. Well, the private insurance companies are not going to like that. They're going to pour huge amounts of money into advertising. Or maybe you're concerned that in America we pay the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. Are you going to really take on the pharmaceutical industry if they now have the ability to spend unlimited sums of money? So, Mr. President, I come to the floor this afternoon to express my profound disgust with the current state of our campaign finance system and to call for more disclosure until we can finally overturn Citizens United. And I know the presiding officer from New Mexico has a very good constitutional amendment to do just that. I have one. There are other good amendments. Long-term, no question in my mind, we need to overturn Citizens United. In my view, it will go down in history as one of the worst decisions ever to come from the Supreme Court by a 5-4 decision. 5 members of the court came to the bizarre conclusion that corporations should be treated as if they were people and that they have a First Amendment right to spend as much money as they want in elections, even though corporations can't vote. So the average American, with pride, on Election Day goes out and votes, studies the issues, votes for the candidate of his or her choice. There are many people in this country who make campaign contributions. Maybe they'll contribute $25. Maybe they'll contribute $50. Maybe if they have a lot of money, they may contribute $1,000 or $2,000. But what Citizens United is saying is that a small number of people who run large multinational corporations can spend as much as they want on campaigns. And if that is what American democracy is supposed to be about, you surely could have fooled me, and I think many Americans who put their lives on the line to defend American democracy. What American democracy is, one person, one vote. We're all in this together. You may be rich and you may be poor, but under our Constitution, you have one vote. And this country has had to go through a very rocky process to ensure one person, one vote. In the beginning, poor whites couldn't vote. Women couldn't vote. African Americans couldn't vote. And we struggled and we struggled and we struggled and we said, in America, every citizen of this country is going to have their say on Election Day. That's what we learned when we were in elementary school. That's what democracy is about. And by a 5-4 Supreme Court vote, the Supreme Court said, hey, yeah, everybody has one vote, but if you're rich, if you're the head of a corporation, you can go into corporate treasuries and spend as much money as you want. The average Joe, one vote. Corporate America can spend unlimited sums of money buying the airwaves. And we're seeing this today. This is no academic, intellectual debate. People all over America are seeing the results of Citizens United today on their television stations and on their radio stations. In the past few months, the American people have seen what Citizens United means. Super PACs alone have spent over $112 million on this election, according to the Center for Responsive Politics, and we're still more than 5 months away from Election Day. And if 2 weeks before the election you got a billionaire out there head of some corporation, who was to say that person cannot take hundreds of millions of dollars out of a large corporation and spend it on an election? Totally legal, but not what America is supposed to be about. Now, Mr. President, I know you are aware of it, once again, because of your excellent constitutional amendment. What we are seeing throughout grassroots America is that people are beginning to stand up and they're saying, no, we don't want Citizens United. We want to overturn it. We want real democracy in this country. And I'm very proud that in the state of Vermont and in 4 other states, state legislatures now have gone on record saying overturn Citizens United. 209 cities have passed resolutions to that effect, including some 50 or 60 in the state of Vermont. And people are organizing all over America on this issue. And I want to thank Senator Whitehouse and others for the work they're doing on this disclosed bill. This is the very least that we can do, the very least that we can do, and I'm eagerly awaiting to hear the arguments from those people who oppose it. If I put an ad on as a candidate, if you put an ad on as a candidate, Senator Whitehouse puts an ad on television as a candidate, we have to say, as we should, I approve this ad. If you're saying something nasty, you're saying something dishonest, the viewers have the right to know that you are behind that ad. You're not hiding. But right now, ads going on all over this country. Who's paying for them? We don't know who's paying for them. We don't see that pretty face on the TV saying, I am the CEO of this corporation, I approve this ad. We don't get the immediate disclosure that we should as to who is paying for that ad. And that's all that this disclosed legislation does.